Well, hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you know, we don't get on here every day. We don't get on here every week, maybe not even every month. We'll come on and make a video when we come across something that we find interesting. And maybe some of you out there will also, especially a lot of you gun enthusiasts, collectors, firearms from the military type. And we came across one here recently. A customer brought in a Steyr M95. Now, the Steyr M95 is a bolt-action, very long rifle. It was adopted by the Austro-Hungarian Army in 1895. So we're talking pretty old. It's a straight bolt action, which means you don't have to lift up on the bolt, pull the bolt back, shove the bolt forward, and then drop the bolt handle again. It's a straight pull back and forth. There's a couple variants on it. There was a short rifle, a cavalry carbine, and a Stetson, whatever that is. I think it's a carbine version, but anyway. The standard infantry weapon for the Austro-Hungarian Empire throughout World War I was this rifle. And it continued to be the standard rifle for the armies of Austria and Hungary. World War II also used them in secondary roles, including rear echelon troops and partisans. There was a lot of modifications made to this rifle. They sold them off to a lot of different countries. They were rechambered from their original 8mm to 50mm to 56 during the 1930s. There was a sniper variant that had a scope. These rifles remain in service with police forces and were sold to the civilian market and collector's items. Today it's a very popular item for collectors due to its historical significance. When other countries bought these rifles from Hungary, they changed their caliber to what they shot versus what Hungary shot. And on the receiver, they stamped certain codes to let you know what caliber they're chambered in. It's kind of interesting because this rifle had a piece missing. It was milled out, cut out from the barrel around the chamber area. There's no way for me to tell what this rifle was chambered in. And the customer wanted this thing cleaned up, and they wanted to shoot it. So I told them I'd inspect it and do what I could. So it got me really curious to why that piece had been deliberately cut out. When I took the rifle apart and inspected it, first thing I did, of course, was I checked out the barrel. Man, it was trashed. That barrel was so full of rust, so corroded, I'd be afraid to put a bullet through it, to tell you the truth. It'd probably explode. Which got me thinking, maybe that's why somebody cut out that chamber end of the barrel so that nobody could put a round in there, because it was open so much that if you did put a round in it and fired it, the gases would probably escape, maybe even the bullet, or even cause the gun to blow up. But somebody was thinking, whenever they did this, they thought, well, maybe we better make sure that if they figure out the caliber, that they can't fire it. So I'll show you in the videos coming up that they clipped the firing pin, and they also plugged the firing pin hole on the bolt face. All these three things done just to make sure that nobody could fire this rifle. It was permanently, totally disabled. So it's basically just a showpiece, something to hang on your wall. It's got history to it. It's very old, and it's kind of a cool rifle. And so stay tuned. We'll get into that and show you how all the parts that I was talking about, and get you familiar with the rifle. So don't go away. We'll be back in about 14 seconds. Well, hey everyone. Well, the rifle's been totally disassembled, or pretty close anyway, and it's been run through the cleaner and the lube tank. As you can see, it's even got the, I believe that's the rack number for the armory. But it's had the rust removed and have it pretty much disassembled. We'll go ahead now and get back into the assembly. As you can see, the bolt, that's what I talked about earlier, the firing pin's been cut, and the bolt head itself, the firing pin hole, has been plugged. Anyway, we'll get back to assembling it. Well, hey everyone, welcome back. Reassembling this rifle is pretty straightforward. So we'll see if we can do this step at a time so you can see how it's done. First, the butt stock plate. It's no big deal, just a couple screws go in here. I did de-rust this plate as well, so it's nothing but bare steel. But it's pretty simple, no big deal. There you go, the butt plate's installed. Next step will be just putting the receiver in the barrel into the stock. Pretty simple too, it just sits in there. Just like that. We'll flip it upside down. What holds the receiver into the stock is the trigger housing, and it fits in just like this. Got two screws that go in there. They screw down through the receiver or through the trigger housing, the stock, and then screw into the receiver. Always make sure you got the size of the screwdriver bit that fits the screw. You don't want it to be too loose or too long or too short, because you may end up screwing up the screw head and they're going to have problems in the future with it. So it's best to have yourself an assortment. There you go. The trigger housing is in. Next step, we'll be putting on the top stock piece, I don't know what they call it, the upper guard. And it just simply slides on and underneath the rear sight area there. Simple as that. Then you got this band. Now this band has a sling. It's not really a swivel, but it's a sling keeper. This was made to be on the left side of the gun, of the rifle, because they figured having this rifle slung from the side of it, being a flat surface, would be a lot more comfortable on the backs of the soldiers than to have this poking in their back or their ribs or whatever. So this will go on the left side of the rifle. It's not going to be hard to figure out where it goes. Maybe it'll go on the right side of the rifle. There we go, left side of the rifle. If it doesn't go on all the way to where it's seated or come off, you can take a rubber type mallet and just give them a couple taps to make sure it gets on there all the way. There is a hole through the stock that aligns with the band so that the screw will go through it and hold everything in. And again, we need to get the right size of screw or screwdriver. There you go. The next step is getting the front band on. Now this piece right here, kind of weird. But if you've been in the military, you know what stacking arms are. Is when you kind of stack them and they're at a triangle. You can get 3 or 4, maybe even more rifles stacked in like a pyramid. It's called stacking arms. This is the swivel that's used to put other rifles through. And this just simply goes on the front of the muzzle. It's the last band here. And again, if it doesn't fit, take a rubber hammer and just tap it into place. That looks pretty good. Then attach the screw. Make sure you get the holes lined up. These screws do go through the wood and into the other side of the bands. This one's kind of rough. Obviously, thing's old. There we go. See how that screwdriver bit slipped out of that notch? Reason being, when I took this thing apart, the screw had been peened over or messed with. And I had to take my Fordham tool with the grinder bit, and I had to grind the slot out some more in order for a screwdriver to fit in it. You don't want to screw it up. Maybe cross threading or something. Let me check the alignment of those holes. We don't want to cross thread these things. Might not be exactly aligned yet. On the other side anyway. Okay, we're back. We had a little issue with this top band, and of course it's 125, 135 years old, so we finally got it figured out and got the front band on. I mean, that happens, right? Alright, the rifle, basically, other than the bolt, is totally reassembled. Now we'll get to the hard part. We'll go ahead and put together the bolt and then show you how it fits in. The first thing we're going to do in reassembling the bolt, we're going to take the firing pin and we're going to insert the spring on. Then we're going to take the spring and the firing pin and insert it into the bolt face. Now, as you can see again, there is no firing pin hole for this to come through. It's dead. So it's totally unable to be fired. The next thing we have is the cap that goes on. Now this is under spring tension here. So you kind of have to push in and hold it and get a couple rotations on there till the threads catch and screw this cap on. Now you see you got grooves here in the bolt. You can see those. And you got grooves in the cap. They line up. Okay, you get it down till it's almost tight, and then back it off if you have to. But those grooves need to be lined. See how they'll be aligned on both sides. They have to be aligned like that. Your firing pin and spring are now in. To get the bolt into the bolt carrier, you have to make sure the flat side of the firing pin is on the flat side of the cap. And inside your bolt carrier you have a lug that will slide along these grooves, so you have to make sure that they're aligned as well, that the lugs in there are aligned. There you go. That was a first try. They follow along the lugs. That path in there and those lugs make the bolt head turn and lock into the make the lugs lock into the chamber when you move the bolt back and forth, just like it's doing right now. See how it's turning? That's how you want that to go. To get the extractor back on, which is this piece right here, you need to pull the bolt head out a little bit. There's a slot in here in the bolt carrier. The extractor tail goes into there, and you have to slide it over the bolt. You may have to finagle the bolt around to get that extractor in, but it's kind of hard. You don't want to break it, because finding these extractors are pretty rough. So there you go. It's in. The net nub is locked right in there with the bolt carrier. The extractor is on the edge of the bolt, so it looks good, and it's decocked. So there's the cock. But we want it decocked. There you go, it's decocked. Okay, I did a couple things off camera because it was giving me a little bit of a fit. Your cocking piece here then screws into the top, on top of the firing pin, into place. You got to hold your safety in the right position so it doesn't bump into it. And then once you get it screwed in, you've got to literally pull this bolt head out into the cocked position. It will not go into the rifle if it's not. It's pretty hard. I had to put it in a vise and pull really hard to get it to come out and put in a locked position. Not all these bolts will stay open like this. If they don't, you can take an American dime and stick it in here, and it will hold that open far enough for you to get the bolt into the rifle. Now to put the bolt back into the rifle, we have it in the cocked position already, and it stayed. The trigger is kind of unique. Pushing the trigger forward releases this little safety button that stops the bolt from coming out of the upper receiver when you pull it back. So you need to depress that by pushing the trigger forward. Then you just insert the bolt with those little ribs in the channel. Okay, again, I had another little technical difficulty. These ribs here on the bottom of the bolt are right into this channel. You push the hammer or the trigger forward, it drops these little safety bars. They keep the bolt from coming out involuntarily. So you have to press the trigger forward, line those little ribs up at the channel, and slide the bolt in. There you go. Simple as that. There you go. Now this bolt isn't like most bolt actions. Most bolt actions you got to lift up and pull back. This is a straight push. There's no lifting on the handle. The handle's there just so you can push and pull it. You pull it to load it, to eject it, and then push it shut to close it. And it automatically cocks itself. And it's pretty difficult. It's not real easy. These bolts were handmade for a particular receiver, and they're fit very nicely. If the action is rough, it's because the bolt was changed out at one time or another because of whatever, wear, damage, breakage, whatever. They put a different bolt in it, and it rides a little rough. That's just an indication that the rifle has had a new bolt put in it. But anyway, that's the rifle fully reassembled. Other than the barrel being really bad on the inside, I want to show you another interesting piece on this rifle. We already know the firing pin's been cut, the firing pin hole and the bolt face has been filled. This part right here has been cut out of the chamber. That is where the tip of the round is going to be. And I wondered why that was like that. Well, now that I've inspected the gun, the muzzle, the bore being so screwed up, it probably shouldn't have a round through it. Somebody cut this out to make sure that a round could not be fired through the gun, because if you fired one with this open like this, all the gases and everything, even the bullet may come flying out. It could even explode the gun. But somebody was thinking, they figured, well, if they try it, I better cut that firing pin and fill that hole, which they did. This piece also had any stampings that were on it from whatever country bought them from Austria and stuff, and they rechambered them for their own use, and they had a stamp mark on here telling you, which indicated what kind of ammo it used. So they kind of killed a couple of birds with one stone here by milling that out. So this basically is a showpiece. That's it. It's just a wall hanger. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit more, the wood, clean it up a little bit more and get it together so the customer can go ahead and put it on the wall. But anyway, that's it for this. I didn't go through a disassembly. I didn't want to make an hour video. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it.